This episode of the Adam Messer Show podcast is presented to you by Valhalla Books, valhallabooks.com, with their first inaugural anthology, a horror anthology of The Devil's Due, where nothing is ever as it seems. You can check it out on valhallabooks.com. Messer, and thank you for tuning in. We've got a very special guest today, a very spooky special guest today. He's been on the show before, Ryan Dunn. Welcome back, man. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Dude, I am so excited to have you back. I think this is like the third year that we've done a show right around Christmas time, Halloween. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I'm like thinking ahead, but I'm excited to have you here, man. And everybody, we're gonna be talking about. I think you just did a new investigation, right?
Yeah, we just did another overnight at Moon River Brewery. And we're
Yeah.
doing one again October 25th, and then that should be our last one for the year.
Oh wow. And then we're gonna be talking about The Devil's Due, which you wrote a forward for our book, the Valhalla Books. And we'll be talking about that, and we're gonna be talking about some other stuff. Everybody, thank you so much, for listening, because this is WRUU, and we're an all community radio station. We've got some announcements because this is our fall pledge drive season, and so I want to read this off to you. But also, I just want to tell you thank you all for listening in. I really don't get the numbers on who listens in live, but I do have some feedback on the podcast. So we're getting, last week we had almost 200 people download the podcast, which I was like, wow. So thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in and supporting, WRUU and my show, the Adam Messer Show. So here it goes. Through this pandemic crisis, WRUU has continued to bring you an award-winning music and information programming, but this pandemic crisis has added to our financial strains. To fund WRUU operations, we depend upon a number of local events, including our Spring Fling and our annual Tunes and Brews concert and celebration. However, these have been postponed as a result of the recent shelter-in-place orders. As a result, we're asking you to take part in Giving Tuesday to make your first donation to WRUU, or increase your Monday donation to WRUU to ensure that we can continue to bring you programming that you come to love. Go to the WRUU website, which is wruu.org, and then click the donate button to make a donation of any size today or on Giving Tuesday. Thank you. Okay, so yeah, we're right in the middle of our fall pledge fund drive, everybody. Like I said, we're all volunteers. This is July. Well, actually, June was my second anniversary doing the show, so I'm going into my third year here with WRUU, and your sponsorship or your donations help me to be able to do this show and talk to awesome people like Ryan. So thank you very much. So there we go. So Ryan, what have you been up to lately, man?
Just doing investigations. Of course, we've been sheltering at home a lot, out and about, but a lot, doing more stuff at the house. So, finishing up my third Savannah book and my first St. Augustine book, and I'm waiting on my editor to get that back to me. She's a local editor, and once that's done, it goes off to my publisher. And then just doing a lot of stuff, enjoying fatherhood and being home with the girls more often. I think I told you we've been building a proton pack with my older daughter, which has been fun.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's been an interesting project for this season. She's gonna be a Ghostbuster for Halloween.
Yeah, it's been crazy this year because a lot of the conventions had to wind down and not do them. And I know that you and your girls and y'all go to the conventions and you do the cosplay stuff, right?
Yeah, she's been. My two girls do, and I'm just kind of the dad, I guess, that helps build it. So, and when the older one wanted to build a proton pack, I jumped all over it, and we've been working on it since January. But we built that, the ecto goggles, the trap, like the entire outfit from scratch.
Oh wow,
Then the younger daughter, I've been building. She wanted to build a dollhouse, so we built a dollhouse with her. So it's been
dude,
cool doing some dad-daughter projects.
I love it. I love when you send me the pictures too, because it's so cool. Because my wife and I, we have 3 kids, and doing those different things with the kids is always a lot of fun. Speaking of doing different stuff, Kim, your wife, just celebrated like her 1 year anniversary of her business, right?
Yeah, so she's got a store called The Other Side. We're still working on the website, which should be up in a couple of months. We have just been with COVID and everything. It's
Mm-hmm.
been, less or a lot harder for us to get everything up and running and get, the web builder to get with us. But of course, we got an awesome website builder, and she's gonna get that up and running. But right now, she's doing it solely through Facebook and still doing really well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's on the other side on Facebook, and if you see anything you like to buy, you can private message her. And
So you guys have Afterlife Tours, and then she's got the other side, and then y'all do with the kids. You sound like you got your hands full, man.
yeah, and it's been crazy, but it's been awesome. The stuff she's making is amazing. It's all handmade.
Mm-hmm.
She's made a lot of stuff for protection that we use in our own business. She's made handmade voodoo dolls. I mean, I could go on forever. It's amazing the cool stuff I don't know how she's doing it, but it's really awesome.
Yeah, it sounds pretty cool. And then on top of that, I this year I asked you if you wouldn't mind writing the foreword for Valhalla Books, The Devil's Due, our first horror anthology. And man, you made the time to do that for me, and I really appreciate it. It was pretty cool. What did you think about the book?
I loved it. It's been great, and I finished reading it right before I wrote the foreword, but I've been revisiting some of the stories just because it's Halloween time, and it's nice to have them to read this time of year, which has been really cool. I think they all turned out amazing. I mean, it's yours, Rachel's. I mean, Josh Vasquez, Mark Allen Gunnell's. Everything I've read has been awesome.
Yeah, I was blown away. Honestly, putting together the author anthology, putting together the authors with the different. So with the background there, most of the authors are people that I knew before the anthology. You had referred me to Mark Allen Gunnels, so that was a really good, referral. We He came on board, and then there were a couple other people who were referrals, but majority of them were folks that I knew and that I had asked if they would be part of this, first anthology or whatever. And so I was blown away, with the quality and the level of talent and the skill in the writing with the different stories. And I'm so excited. I can't wait for people to be able to read it. And we're going to be, putting it out on Halloween. So, I kind of love, like this time of the year is like one of my favorite times, like, scary movies, futuristic dystopian type stuff. And I like horror movies. I like vampire stuff. And I like the ghost stuff too, man. I mean, like, lately I've been watching this series called Murder, Mystery, and Makeup, or I think it's might be called Murder, Makeup, and Mystery or something like that. But
Right.
it's by this lady named Bailey Saren, and she puts out like a little episode every Monday on Facebook or whatever, and she talks about like true crime and stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then, like I was talking with a friend of mine not too long ago about your Afterlife Tours, and I was like, her name's Lakin Williams, and she's here. She's a local person here in Savannah, and I was telling her about your tours, and I was like, the way that you do it is you look at the historical aspects of the places that are haunted, and then you try to collect the data and the the EVPs and stuff like that if there are any, but you present the facts. You don't try to sway people with well, there's a ghost here or not. You just let them know, like, hey, this is what we experienced, and this is this, like with James Stark, Moon River Brewing,
Right.
and I love that. So can you talk a little bit more about like that, like how your approach is with the ghost tours, and then also the investigations, because it's two different things, right? It's like you got to do the
Yeah, it's two different
investigations,
things, and
and
it kind of folds together a little bit. We founded the Savannah Ghost Research Society in 2010 as a nonprofit organization. We've probably done close to 200 cases in the past decade.
oh wow.
We've traveled around the U.S. doing stuff like Waverly Hills Sanitarium in Louisville, Kentucky. We've done Bobby Mackey's up in Kentucky. We've done Old South Pittsburgh Hospital in Tennessee. A lot of stuff in St. Augustine and Savannah too. But one of our approaches has always been to do the historic research first. A lot of these ghost stories told in all these towns, some of them are just blatantly not true. A lot of fiction, a lot of urban legend. So we go to the Historical Society prior to any case, and we compile full year-by-year histories. We look to obituaries, death certificates, find out who really died there, what really happened. And a lot of times we find out that truth is scarier than fiction, but we disprove a lot of these lores that have been happening or told for many, many decades.
Mm-hmm.
Then we come in with our team and we do a full investigation. We interview any clients there that have had activity and find out where the stuff happens at. and we come in overnight, have full access to the location, set up all of our equipment, night vision cameras, thermal imaging cameras, audio, video recorders, EMF detectors, temperature gauges, and motion sensors, and many other things. And we try to communicate with who is supposedly haunting the building. On a lot of occasions, we've caught stuff on video, stuff on thermal imaging, stuff on photograph, and audio recordings known as EVPs. And we've even managed to capture first and last names of people who had died there, answering direct responses to our questions on audio recording. And then the tour is just an extension of that. We take everybody by all these locations we've investigated, and we present the evidence, we call it, and tell the real history versus the fake history that's been told on most of these other tours.
I'm going to bring up your website too, because you've got a couple of those EVPs on there, right?
Yeah, we've got a few of our EVPs on our website at afterlifetours.net.
Let me see if we could, because I've got to do a little announcement here in a minute. Do you mind if we talk about one real quick, like a Pirate's House one?
Yeah, man, go ahead and put one on, and I'll explain what happened.
Okay, so everybody, just a kind of like a backdrop here. Ryan was on one time, and he actually had sent me some, and like, oh my gosh, it gave me chill bumps, is what it did. But on their website, afterlifetours.net, there's an evidence one, and you can actually listen to it for yourself. But this one is from the Pirate's House, and it says "Walk on Home." So I'm going to turn this up so we can hear it. But if it's a little too loud, I hope it's not. But here it goes. All right, I'm going to play it again. All right, one more time. And then, Ryan, you can give us like a explanation of what's up. Okay, so what is that?
Okay, so the walk on home is interesting. I couldn't hear it on my end. I'm probably sure you guys could hear it there. For some reason, I couldn't hear it, but I'm calling in. We were at Pirate's House doing an investigation back around 2013, I think. And there's an upstairs area that goes, it's very active. None of the staff go up there. It's all unfinished. It's the staircase, not to the gift shop, but the other staircase, and it's all abandoned up there. And me and another investigator, Ryan Reese, had just climbed up into that staircase during the investigation. And we're walking through the first room as we got to the top of the landing. And it just felt really heavy and oppressive. And Ryan had just asked me, he said, "Hey, do you think we should be up here?" He's like, "Something just doesn't feel right."
Mm-hmm.
And about right after that, the EVP was called that said, "Walk on home."
Mm.
And it sounded like a really old genteel way of saying, "Get the heck out."
Yeah. Well, get on out of here.
Right.
So, you ain't from around here. Get out.
Right.
Yeah. Dude, okay. So let me do the announcement real quick. All right. So
we need your support. All of the in-person fundraising events we normally have throughout the year have been canceled because of the coronavirus. Supporting WRUU with your financial gift is very important to us. Some of the largest expenses that WRUU pays each month go to bringing you the actual over-the-air signal that you listen to and enjoy. We pay rent on our studio location, and we have a monthly tower rental fee. We have internet and telephone fees. We have broadcast engineering fees to fix our connection between the studio and the tower when something goes wrong. We pay fees for all the music we play and separate fees to stream our music broadcasts. We have no salaried staff and very few administrative expenses. Everyone is a volunteer. So rest assured that your contributions go directly to bringing you the programs that keep you stimulated, entertained, and informed. Individual donations account for most of our income each year. Do your part today. A contribution in any amount lessens the burdens for everyone. No one else is going to do it for you. Make a financial contribution at wruu.org. And thank you for your financial support of Savannah's best local talk radio, as voted by readers in the most recent Connect Savannah poll, WRUU 107.5 FM.
All right, and so Ryan, what happened next?
After that, we were just blown away. We had caught that EVP. Something just seemed really angry. We had come upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
And that whole investigation was really interesting. We were filming with our TV show we do every once in a while with WJCL called Spooky Town. And the host of that show is a guy named Frank Swakowski. He's also their sports newscaster there, assistant director. And Frank's a pretty big guy. He used to be a linebacker in college football.
Mm-hmm.
And Frank came walking around the corner towards the back area where the restrooms were, and he saw the shadow figure come walking right across the hall and go into the wall and disappear.
Mm.
And the look on Frank's face when that happened was pretty priceless too. So
And
yeah,
that was at the Pirates House, everybody. So if you're listening, you can go to afterlifetours.net and the evidence section. You can check that out. So what happened after that? He saw the shadow figure go into the wall, and then
he was upset that he didn't have his news camera on at the time. Would have been a great catch, and we were still, of course, setting up at the time. But the whole investigation was pretty active. But the interesting thing we did discover, looking at the history of the building, there wouldn't have been pirates there.
Mm-hmm.
The piracy, golden age of piracy ended in the 1730s and 1740s, and the Pirates House supposedly was built in the 1750s. Although, looking at tax assessments, we discovered it was from the 1790s, much later. The other story is Blackbeard used to frequent there, and he was captured, if I'm not mistaken, it was either 1718 or 1720. Well, Savannah wasn't settled until 1733.
Right.
So our colony was settled after Blackbeard's death, which there's no way, if Blackbeard did come
Right.
to Savannah, it would have been Yamaha Indians, no settlers or no pirates.
Yeah, there was an Oglethorpe Square and all that.
Right.
Yeah.
We did discover, however, interestingly enough, there were privateers, which were basically a pirate. They could rob any other ship as long as it wasn't someone from their country or their allies. For instance, if you're an English privateer, you had a letter from the king where you were allowed to rob the Spanish or anybody that wasn't your ally or English ship. So privateers were a lot more bloodthirsty than pirates because you had a privateer that was basically a legal pirate.
They had a license
so
to kill.
Yeah, they didn't have quite as many bounties on their head. So we did discover there were a lot of privateers that did frequent that place when it was an old sailor's inn and restaurant and bar. So it would have had something similar to pirates, just not the exact word pirate there. And I did find that we found in the newspaper and in the Georgia Encyclopedia about a kid named William Golding, who at the age 8 years old in the 1800s was snatched by a shipmaster and his wife and thrown under the hull of the ship. And he didn't return to Savannah until he was in his 50s. And while he was here in the city, he was sick at the old Sailors Hospital, which used to be the old Candler. And he retold his tale to a nurse about being kidnapped at a young age at 8 years old, never seeing the city again, and how he was forced to work on the ship, and how he later made money and became a wealthy sailor. So that's a good example of people being shanghaied, forced into privateering.
Wow.
Which is what they say about the Pirates House. So there is record that it happened.
And you said that was James Golding?
William Golding.
William Golding.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's in the Georgia Encyclopedia. You could probably just Google William Golding Georgia Encyclopedia. It'll come right up.
Oh, wow.
So,
Yeah, I think that's what the fascinating part about it. Because, as a kid, I used to love ghost stories and stuff like that. And I love history, and I think that's one of the reasons why I like how you and your group do your investigations, because you try to look at the historical time period, the people that were involved, the places. I mean, like, that makes total sense. With Blackbeard, if 1718, if he died, Savannah
Right.
wasn't even founded until 1733.
Yeah, so
15 years later.
Pirates House.
Yeah, there's no way. And if there's tax records saying that the Pirates House wasn't formed, built until the 1790s or whatever, But I think that the urban legends and, good ghost tales kind of, like legends and myths and stuff like that, but it's neat to be able to separate that and say, well, okay, Blackbeard probably didn't come here at all because he was dead,
And the other thing I found or thought about, Blackbeard may have come to Savannah, but back then there would have been just Yamaha Indians here.
Right.
I would be surprised if he could have cut up into the Savannah River to hide out or something.
Well, I was wondering maybe Port Royal.
Been colonists,
Maybe Port Royal, because that's where Oglethorpe was before he came to Savannah, right?
Right, and he actually ransacked Charleston. Him and his crew held the city of Charleston ransom for about 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
One of the bravest things a pirate could have done. I mean, went into Charleston and took the city and stayed for a while. So
took the old fort. I was up there a couple years ago, and we took a little tour of that of the, I don't remember what it's called, but it's right there on the old riverfront before they moved the new one. And what is that building called? I'm trying to think.
Is it the Provost Dungeon, maybe?
Yeah, where they had the fake wall, where they hid all the ammunition and stuff from the
Right.
British, and like the whole basement. Like one of the things they talk about is like the whole basement is mirror image of each other, and then there's this one area that like the British didn't figure out that this is where they walled off all the ammunition or whatever. And back when it was called Charlestown, before they changed it to Charleston after
Right.
the Revolutionary War. And I thought it was so cool because they you've got some dummies of the stockades and stuff like that, but they say that place is haunted too. So
Yeah, we've actually looked at investigating there at some point.
Mhm.
We thought it'd be a good location. So
yeah. So last summer you were on the show America's Most Terrifying Haunts or whatever, right?
right, most terrifying places.
Places,
Travel
that's
Town.
right.
Yeah.
And I thought it was so cool because you had posted about them needing some extras, and I was like, oh, what's the information? You gave me the information, and then all of a sudden I was like, I was one of the extras on there, and I thought that was so cool because that was down at the Moon River Brewing Company where you just did your investigation, right?
Right.
And I thought it was so cool because I didn't really know the story behind James Stark. So would you retell that story for us, for the listeners?
Yeah. So it was built in 1821 as the first Moon River Brewery. The building was as the first city hotel in 1821. It was named City Hotel. And not only is it a hotel, it had a bar downstairs, a place where a lot of Savannah's prominent people would come to drink and socialize because to make a lot of business transactions with people traveling in and out of the city. Well, one night there was a guy named Dr. Philip Minus, who was a well-known Jewish doctor in town. He's having a few cocktails with a few of his friends at the bar. And another guy was from out of town staying at the hotel that weekend named James Stark. He was a state legislator from Glenn County, a few counties over. Well, James Stark, true to his nature, was known to have quite a few drinks. He's a belligerent drunk and big racist and alcoholic. He started shouting racist comments towards the Jewish doctors. Dr. Minus approaches James Stark and then demands an apology. And Stark refused. The doctor challenged Stark to a duel. Stark wouldn't agree to the terms for the duel. He started backing out. And over the next few days, Stark had made other derogatory comments about the doctor. Well, a few nights later, it's August 10th, 1832, and the doctor's had a few drinks, and he's walking up the staircase, going from the second to the third floor. And he gets halfway up the stairs, and someone's yelling and shouting at him. And he looks up, and there's James Stark, of all people, standing at the top. So Stark reaches in his coat pocket like he's about to draw a weapon, and the doctor pulled his gun out first and fired a shot directly into James Stark's chest. Stark drops dead on the stairs, and the police arrive. But the issue is they can't find a weapon on James Stark. The doctor had killed this unarmed man. So, of course you have to speculate, but we like to guess that Stark probably was unarmed and thought he had his gun on him, but he didn't, and was just, completely tanked on alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
And the doctor goes to prison for first-degree murder. But the doctor's acquitted 5 months later while on trial, and it took the jury less than 2 hours to decide his fate. And to me, Savannah just looked out for one of its locals and said good riddance to this James Stark guy. But Moon River, since they bought the place, they bought the brewery in 1999, and they've had the building 21 years now, and they can't renovate the top 3 floors. There's no electricity or power up there. The last attempt was in 2001. A contractor, his wife had bought him lunch. All of his other men had quit because of seeing ghosts there. And she's leaving and going down the same staircase James Stark had been murdered on. So there's no one behind her, and she felt 2 cold hands on her shoulders and a shove from behind. She tumbles down the staircase and breaks her ankle.
Mm-hmm.
The contractor quit that day. And they think it was the ghost of James Stark pushing her down the stairs.
Mm-hmm.
So,
it's weird because I played it was like historical reenactment or whatever. So everybody listening at home, like there's a show you can watch if you want or whatever. It's on Amazon Prime or whatever, and I think it was like the episode 3 or whatever. But what they did was they interviewed Ryan, and then they had a couple other people that they interviewed, and they would have
James Caskey was interviewed on there, I think, and a few others.
Yeah, and then they had the extras, like me and a couple other folks. We were playing the different period costume reenactments of the scene. And it was pretty interesting because like I got to play James Stark, and I didn't really know who he was,
Right.
but one of the other scenes in the place was the yellow fever epidemic, and now there was no air conditioning up there, y'all. I mean, like literally, you go upstairs and it's like a heat wave, and we weren't even allowed on the upper floor, just because the wood is so old and stuff like that. They were afraid somebody would fall through the flooring or whatever. But we were in this one room, and we've got our clothes on, and then we have like the old timey nightgowns and cap, like the sleeping caps or whatever. And we're laying on these cots or whatever, and I mean it's hot. We've got these blankets over us, and it's hot, and we're trying to film this, and they've got the fog machine going or whatever. And so the one part where they were just on the woman, where she was laying down, they had us standing off to the side or whatever, and I felt this like cool air. Now that it's weird, but I felt this cool air just come up the back of my spine, and I was like, I said to the other guy, I said, "Hey," I said, "Do you feel that?" It said, "Do you feel like a breeze up here?" I thought. He's like, "No," and like he's pouring sweat, and I'm pouring sweat. And when I had the rest of my scene and I was laying down, I felt it like across the back of my neck again. And it was definitely wasn't really sure what was going on there. I mean, definitely unexplained type stuff, phenomenon or whatever. And I'm not a big, I know that there's a lot of stuff out there. I'm not really a big scary kind of person. I don't want to act like that I am. I mean, but I don't disbelieve, but I'm also a skeptic. Like I know that there's a lot of people out there who play pranks and hoaxes and stuff like that. So I'm always kind of leery of any kind of tomfoolery like that,
Right.
But it definitely was something I couldn't understand or explain. And I didn't have any, it was weird. I didn't have any feelings like of any kind of negative energy, like ghost type phenomenon. But I didn't know if that was because maybe he was happy with the way I was playing his character or what. Because I've heard that a lot of people, have problems where he might not like somebody and he'll just like kind of shove up against them or whatever.
Oh, it's happened a lot, man. We've had people on overnights have stuff like that. It's he's definitely a very angry individual. But looking at how he was in life, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna take a little quick announcement break, everybody. This is WRUU, LP Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings Community Radio with Global Soul. This is the Adam Messer Show. My special guest today is Ryan Dunn. And we are in our fundraising season. So here it goes.
This portion of WRUU-LP Savannah Soundings programming is made possible by listeners like you and Brighter Day Natural Foods. Brighter Day is celebrating its 40th year serving the Savannah community with produce, vitamins, and supplements, and a deli and juice bar. Brighter Day is located at 1102 Bull Street at the south end of Forsyth Park. More information available at 912-236-4703 or brighterdayfoods.com.
We need your support. All of the in-person fundraising events we normally have throughout the year have been canceled because of the coronavirus. Supporting WRUU with your financial gift is very important to us. Some of the largest expenses that WRUU pays each month go to bringing you the actual over-the-air signal that you listen to and enjoy. We pay rent on our studio location, and we have a monthly tower rental fee. We have internet and telephone fees. We have broadcast engineering fees to fix our connection between the studio and the tower when something goes wrong. We pay fees for all the music we play and separate fees to stream our music broadcasts. We have no salaried staff and very few administrative expenses. Everyone is a volunteer. So rest assured that your contributions go directly to bringing you the programs that keep you stimulated, entertained, and informed. Individual donations account for most of our income each year. Do your part today. A contribution in any amount lessens the burdens for everyone. No one else is going to do it for you. Make a financial contribution at WRUU.org. And thank you for your financial support of Savannah's best local talk radio as voted by readers in the most recent Connect Savannah poll, WRUU 107.5 FM.
Close message 2. We need your support. All of the in-person fundraising events we normally have throughout the year have been canceled because of the coronavirus. Supporting WRUU with your financial gift is very important to us. If you made a one-time contribution to WRUU last year, consider changing that to a monthly gift this year. Monthly gifts help you help WRUU. They help you by spreading out a larger gift over a year's time. $10 a month is about 30 cents a day, but it adds up to $120 of support each year for your favorite radio station. Monthly gifts are automatically renewing, and you control when they start and stop. So there's no need to remember when your year of support is up, and we can count on that support every month to bring you great radio programming. We use the super easy PayPal website to make the transfer from your card to our account. And you might already have a PayPal account. If not, it's one of the most trusted online money transfer methods that you can use for all types of online shopping. Go ahead and become a monthly contributor now. Find the details at wruu.org. And thanks for supporting Savannah's best local talk radio, as voted by readers in the most recent Connect Savannah poll, WRUU 107.5 FM.
WRUU-LP Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings, community radio with global soul.
All right, everybody, and thank you very much for your donations and your support of our radio station here, WRUU. You know, there's a lot of stuff out there with entertainment. I mean, we have, if you think about like the last 20 years, how the internet has changed, and the last 10 years with smartphones, how everything's, well, I think the smartphones have been around longer than that, but I know I've had a smartphone probably the last 10 years or so. You know, we do everything with our phones. You know, I mean, it's so hard to garner attention for anything. You know, I mean, somebody has to really be into it. And, you know, I saw, this kind of sums it up for me, but I saw this meme. It was a picture, Ryan, of like a guy and his daughter, and they were at an old school video rental place, right? And they're looking at some VHS tapes or whatever. And it says, remember back in the day, you know, you go on a Friday night and you'd rent a movie or two and you'd have a great weekend.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, I was like, yeah, that was so true. Like we would go, you know, like Friday night, we'd go get a movie. You know, it was like a big deal. Like you could reserve a movie. Like if they had, you know, the new releases for the week, they'd have, you know, have extra copies or whatever. I think Blockbuster used to have a guaranteed in stock, you know, thing or whatever.
I miss going by the horror aisle because, like, I would choose so many movies just based on the cover. You know, not know anything about the movie, and I'm like, hey, this cover looks rad. Let's get this. And sometimes it was horrible, and sometimes you discover like an awesome movie that, you know, just wasn't so well known. You know, it was so fun picking movies by the covers back then.
Well, that's the whole thing. You know, like kind of like my point is today we have so much available. I mean, like, there's a million movies that we can watch with any subscription that we have, or, you know, there's even free ones that we can watch and stuff like that. And, you know, it's just different, you know, I mean, it's almost like binge watching has become the new norm. And, you know, back in the day, it was like, you know, you'd watch maybe, you know, a movie, you know, you'd have like, you know, we had cable TV, you know, whatever,
but you couldn't find, like, I used to have the VCR. I used to watch, like, Are You Afraid of the Dark? And Tales from the Crypt. And I had to have my VCR ready to record
Tales from the Dark Side.
Because you couldn't binge it. You couldn't see them back to back. You know, you couldn't even go and buy the whole season like you could on DVD or Blu-ray now, because back then it was VHS. You probably have like 10 tapes to have a season, you know?
Same thing with music. You remember, I mean, like, you know, you'd like wait an hour to hear your favorite song to record it, you know?
Right. Now I got Spotify. It's $15 a month for my whole family, and we can listen to anything we want. It's crazy, man.
Yeah. No, that's the whole thing I was kind of getting at with the radio station here, with us doing the community radio station, because it is different. It's one of the things I really enjoy. I mean, like as a kid, I used to listen to talk radio a lot. I used to listen to the Reds on WLWT growing up, and I loved it. There was a show that I used to listen to overnight. It was called Coast to Coast. And
George Norrie, right?
And that was one of the things, like, I love Tales from the Dark Side, Tales from the Crypt, You know, I love those, like the Outer Limits. You
Right.
know, like I love those shows. I loved that show. It was, what was it called? Unsolved Mysteries.
Yep, I love Twilight Zone. Even the '80s reboot was great. They had the Grateful Dead do the theme song. Man, it was awesome.
Yeah, and they've got the new Twilight Zone reboot, which is pretty sweet.
I still haven't seen it. I know Jordan Peele's doing it, and I'm a big fan of what he's doing, man, which is awesome.
And I don't know if you've seen Lovecraft Country or not, but it's pretty good too.
No, it's on my to do. It's on my to do list. It's
I'm like, oh my gosh.
we've
We-
been binging Dexter lately, and then doing Creep Show, the TV series, and Nosferatu, which is pretty good.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. I believe it or not, I was watching Terminator: The Dark Fate this morning, and
Nice.
yeah, it's crazy because I haven't been a big fan of the newer Terminator stuff.
Right.
But this one reminds me of a mix between Terminator 1 and Terminator 2. Because
I just went and watched all of them with my oldest about a month ago. We spent a few weeks going through, every once in a while popping one in and watched all the Terminators. Man, it was fun.
yeah. Well, what did you think about the Dark Fate one?
I enjoyed Dark Fate, man. It was fun.
I like how he was like Carl was like, I have an extreme sense of humor or something like that. I was like, and then the one scene where he's talking to Maria, or is it Maria? What is her name? I think it's Maria. He's talking to her. And he's like, and I was telling him the man wanted to put solid colored drapes in his daughter's bedroom, and I was like, no, you must have butterflies or balloons or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh. So I'm about halfway through it now. What did your daughter think about the series?
What was that now?
What did your daughter think about the series?
She loved it, man. She's they're both. We've been watching stuff back and forth, especially during the Corona when it first hit and we were quarantined. We were watching a lot of cool stuff. So they both. The older one loves the Terminator, and the younger one, we were binging some of the Wonder Years and Simpsons. So
yeah.
But I've been on horror TV lately with it being, Halloween. That's kind of our thing now. We just watch The Shining, usually in the Saturday mornings. They have Saturday morning cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
We don't watch a ton of TV, but on Saturday mornings, the girls will wake up early if they want to, and they'll get breakfast and watch cartoons like I did when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And this morning, 10 o'clock this morning, we're watching The Shining instead of cartoons. It was my girls' idea. I was like, all right, awesome. Sounds great. So,
did you see well, obviously you probably saw it back in the day, but I watched They Live again.
Oh, it's one of my favorite John Carpenter's, man. So
I
underrated.
swear. I think it's a movie that's kind of held up over the years.
Yeah, everybody's all about The Thing. I still have to say They Live and then Big Trouble in Little China are two of my favorites from Carpenter.
I loved Big Trouble in Little China, Big Trouble in Little China. I don't know why my brain keeps flipping stuff around today.
And then In the Mouth of Madness is fun too. It's kind of Carpenter's shout out to Lovecraft, which is cool.
Yeah, I think that's one of the big things I like about horror is the movies, and then with the writing, so you have books on your investigations, and they're about creepy, scary, spooky stuff, right?
Right.
But you don't write it from the aspect of trying to be a horror writer. You're writing it as like a paranormal historical aspect, right?
Right, from my point of view, from how from what happened during the investigations and what happened learning the history.
Yeah.
And I document all the events that have happened to the people living there and experiencing it.
Yeah,
but,
the biggest difference is like you're not trying to write it from a fictional perspective, but you're writing about stuff that is pretty cool and horror.
Which is funny because when I read, everything I read is basically I'd say 95% horror fiction. Maybe 2 or 3% biographies, and the nonfiction I do read is related to our research, reading case files from other investigators and such.
Well, that's the thing with me. I'm mostly a nonfiction reader, right? I like stuff on leadership and development and self-development. Writing, though, I enjoy writing horror and sci-fi. And this... it's crazy because Josh Vasquez is, you know Josh. He's the author of the zombie. And I'm just saying this because of folks out there that might be listening that don't know who Josh is. Josh is the author of the Savannah zombie novel series. And he and I became friends actually about the same time you and I became friends, like 2014, 2015. And we met in the same way, like through the newspaper, like, interviewing you for the articles and stuff. And but Josh and I are doing this film company called Dead Pixel Pictures, and it's just little campy horror type stuff, right? And so for The Devil's Due, we did this one film. It's a short film, and then it's actually on the same premise as the book. And I think that's one of the things I love about a good story, and with horror especially, because horror, you got like over the top. If you like violence and stuff like that, you can. I'm not really a big violence and gore type fan. I'm more like a thriller and suspense fan.
I think I'm kind of all over the place. Like, I love the campy, cheesy, crappy 80s B movies, but then I love, like, Evil Dead, where it's, like, over the top gore and just, like, almost too much, but funny.
Yeah.
But then I also like the thriller, where, so I guess I like a little bit of it all. Just
Like
depends
Army
on
of
the mood
Darkness,
for. Yeah. Sometimes I just want something silly and gory, and sometimes I want something that really challenges my thinking and something really deep,
Yeah. Like, the movie Seven. You remember that back in the day?
Oh, so twisted.
Yeah, and I know this. A lot of people didn't like this one when it came out, but there was this one called 13 Ghosts that I always enjoyed. I don't know.
And I loved that one, and that was actually a remake. I never saw the original, but I loved the remake and thought it was a beautiful movie, man. It didn't get enough credit. I thought it was great.
Yeah, and there was one that Jennifer Lopez did. I can't remember what it was called, but it was where she was in this constant dream state back and forth.
The Cell. Where she went
Cell.
into the killer's mind. Yeah, it had Vincent D'Onofrio, man. That was an
Oh
awesome
my
movie.
gosh. Yeah, that's like, oh my gosh. You talk about freaky. Like when they had the scene with the horse. Oh my gosh. To this day I still think about it. All right, I've got to do the little announcement real quick.
Yeah.
All right. I'm really enjoying chilling here with Ryan. We're just just talking about watching old school movies and stuff. All right, everybody. So, you're listening to WRUU LP Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings Community Radio with Global Soul. And through this pandemic crisis, WRUU has continued to bring award-winning music and informational programming. But this pandemic crisis has added to our financial fiscal strains. To fund WRUU operations, we depend upon a number of local events, including our Spring Fling and our annual Tunes and Brews concert and celebration. However, these have been postponed as a result of the recent shelter-in-place orders. Pretty much everybody, this year's been FUBAR'd. So, as a result, we're asking you, as a part of our family, our WRUU family, we're asking you to give on Giving Tuesday to make your first donation to WRUU, or to increase your donation to WRUU that ensures that we can continue to bring you the programming that you have come to love. Go to the WRUU website, which is WRUU.org, and click the donation button to make a donation of any size today or on Giving Tuesday. Thank you. So yeah, everybody, we're in the heart of our fall fundraiser drive, so we're going to be playing these for the next couple of weeks. And, we can't do this kind of stuff without y'all. We can't do our shows without y'all because, it does cost money. Even though we're all volunteer, we don't have a salaried staff here. We do have to pay for things like, the soundboard. We had to replace the soundboard last year. The computer. We've had to replace the computer. We had, an expansion where we were able to have a smaller... Inside the studio, we've got actually a small recording area where people can record shows while other people are live on air. And that's only because, the only way we could even do this is because, y'all are helping support us with your donations. You might think $1 or $5 or $10 is not a lot. It adds up. If we had 100 people give $10, you'd have almost a third or so of what our operating costs are, for a month or so. And I don't know the exact numbers. They do publish the numbers. So I think our operating costs are like between $2,000 and $3,000 a month just for rents and electricity and all that stuff. So, and that's not including like, any kind of maintenance, for, equipment or whatever. So I do appreciate y'all doing that. And, so anyway, Rye Dog, I'm so happy to have you on the show today, man. I love chit chatting with you about like horror stuff and then the investigations and all. What was like something? I mean, like I don't want you to give any spoilers away because I know
Yeah.
you do the investigations and all like that. But what was something like that happened at this last one?
Well, one of the interesting things was the last one. We were on the staircase where James Stark was shot and killed.
Mm-hmm.
And we asked if James Stark was there. And I don't want to rephrase it wrong. I'll have to go back and listen to EVP perfectly. But we caught something similar to a male's voice that says, like, yes, I'm here or yes, I am.
Mm.
So it was a direct response asking if James Stark was there, which is pretty wild.
That's pretty rare too, isn't it?
Yeah, so it was definitely an intelligent spirit. So we're pretty sure, we're 99% sure we probably caught the ghost of James Stark with a direct response, which is really exciting.
What did the attendees think? I mean, that had to be kind of freaky.
It was, man. It was. It started off as a quiet night. So for the first 30 minutes to an hour, we weren't getting much, and then all of a sudden, we're almost, third and fourth floors and getting a lot of EVPs. We're doing live playbacks, and everyone was really excited. It was nice. It was a good time. We're doing it. We actually have a couple tickets left. We're doing it again October 25th, a couple weeks from now.
Well, we can't sell anything on air, but how much are the tickets?
Oh yeah, so it's $100 a person. They can call the office to buy tickets.
Okay.
It's a 6-hour investigation. So they get access to all 4 floors in the basement of Moon River.
And they normally
equipment.
Tourists don't have any option to do that. They can go to the first floor and that's about it.
Right, and even if they book a ghost tour, we're one of the few tours contracted to go into some off-limits areas, and we can still only go to the second floor and basement. The only time you're ever going to get to the third and fourth floors where it's really active and abandoned is doing an overnight with us.
Yeah, and I even when I was doing the filming and stuff like that, y'all, I was not allowed on the fourth floor at all. I went up like the stairs and I took some photos up there, just to kind of look around, but we weren't allowed to go on the fourth floor at all.
Yeah, so we get to go all the way through. We just can't go in their office in their brewery room, of course.
Yeah.
But it's great, man. We give you the full case files. We treat you like a real team member. We give you the year-by-year history. We give you typed interviews with the client. So we treat you like one of our investigators. On top of that, most people that do overnights charge about the same price, but they give you a master file of all the recordings and say, here, see if you find anything. Us, on the other hand, we do live playbacks, but we also go through all the evidence ourselves as well. So you don't even have to spend, 12, 14 hours going through all this video and audio footage. We do it for you.
They can, but you give them like you give them the bird's eye view and say, hey, this is what we found.
Right.
Yeah.
And even if you want the master file, I will send it to you. You can go through it yourself as well. But that way you can go to the investigation and enjoy it and not have the one downside that I have investigating is going through the stuff later.
Yeah. It's the editing process, man. Like, I mean, I always joke around about writing and all, but I hate editing. I mean, it's a necessary part of it, but
yes,
editing is such a chore because, you can, like, I'll give you an example. You can miss one word out of 80,000 words and somebody will be like, oh, you missed that word. Like, dude, that's like less than a millionth of a percentage. I mean, if people were funny like that, and then they're trying to listen, trying to catch anything, I don't know, man. I couldn't do that. So it's kind of cool that you put it all together for them.
Yeah, and so I mean, it's nice. You get to go. So I had a producer ask me years ago. They were talking to us about doing a national show and said, "What would you guys want?" I said, maybe a budget for equipment, but we pretty much have that covered. I said we want to have another person on our team. We can dump all the files and say, tell us what we found. Everybody go through everything. And I said, that's the only downside to investigating to me. It's exciting when you find evidence, but it's like a needle in a haystack type of deal,
It's weird, too, because it's a catch-22 or it's a double-edged sword with that because if, and I've seen this with not... I mean, I don't know about the investigation world, but I know I've seen it like at least on the writing side, where if you hire like a virtual assistant or if you hire like a production assistant or whatever,
right?
And they, you show them the ropes or whatever, and then they kind of like, oh, what they act like they're the ones doing all the stuff, and it's like, not really. You're helping here. And I've had to, I think that's the bad thing about it. It's like, doing the meat and potatoes, part, that's the grind, but having to get through all that, it's like,
Right.
I don't know. It's the up and down of any kind of entertainment business, I guess. Especially like with stuff that, well, for example, the James Stark story. That's pretty much common knowledge story. If you want, it's something that's out there. It's available for everybody. Not everybody's going to go through and do the investigation like you did. Not everybody's going to go through and they're going to get the historical aspects of it. It's all available. Right. They can all. I mean, like, it's all open source information. It's all public knowledge. Right. But they're not going to go through and have that. And I think that's what separates, what you're doing versus, the other stuff that's out there, especially the hokey stuff. I mean, honestly, I am a skeptic on stuff. I don't like when somebody just straight up lies about stuff. It's like, the true history of stuff is more interesting most of the time to me than, some kind of hokey pokey, story.
And the cool thing on our tour is you're going to also hear history that, like you said, anybody can go look up. Most people haven't, that you're not going to hear on other tours. We've discovered so many other deaths and stories to talk about these buildings that tourists don't even know about. So, if you really want to get a cool history of Savannah and hear about the creepy side of town or St. Augustine, we've got you covered. We got 2 different tours for each city. So you can come back and do a whole different one after you've done the first one.
The Moon River one, that's just a one-night thing. The other tours that you do here in town, what do you do them 7 days a week, or what do you do with those?
So 7 days a week in Savannah and 7 days a week in St. Augustine.
Nice.
Savannah, we got an 8 o'clock Voices of the Dead tour and a 10 o'clock Restless Souls tour. Our website has all the locations listed for each tour, but each tour is completely different. You won't have any crossover.
And you're doing the COVID security safety type stuff, right?
Yes, and everything's done outside, minus the fact that we do have, on the 10 o'clock tour in Savannah, we go into Moon River Brewery for the third stop. So we get to take tours out to the second floor and everything in the basement, but it's really open and a lot of space, and we're the only one up there at that time, so still very safe.
That's good, yeah, because I know that's a big concern for people, especially, I think this year's tourist season was just kind of just wrecked, but...
It was. We're busier now than we were this summer, which is weird, but...
I think people are just, trying to get out. I mean, like, honestly, I've noticed in the last couple of weeks, there's been a lot more people downtown than there have been, like, since March.
Right.
And so I think people are trying to, get out and, they're, tired of being cooped up in the house. So, but I'm glad that you're all being safe. So, all right.
We've got some of the best guides. I personally trained them all. I mean, they're phenomenal. So we got some great guides.
What's the website again?
It's afterlifetours.net. You can buy tickets right there. If you're buying tickets for the overnight, you have to call the office. That's on our website too. Mm-hmm. But if you're buying tickets for the tour, you can buy tickets for St. Augustine or for Savannah on our website.
And Kim's witchy website is on Facebook. What is it called?
It's The Other Side on Facebook.
The Other Side. And she has like a lot of witchy stuff right there, right?
Oh, yes, and all kinds of cool protection stuff, witch stuff. I mean, you name it, she's got it. She's done handmade voodoo dolls. She's done spell paper, all kinds of cool stuff.
Yeah, her stuff is. It reminds. I don't know if I'm. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but it kind of reminds me of the Celtic druid. How do you say it? Druid
stuff. Yeah. You'll see some.
That's what kind of reminds me of
stuff. Right?
Yeah.
It's interesting, and she's got some cool stuff, some Wicca stuff, Wiccan stuff. So
yeah, The Other Side on Facebook.
She does a lot of stuff, so it's all made personal, which is really nice. She puts a lot of energy into everything she makes.
That's awesome. All right. So we're going to come back at 4:00 for the second hour of the Adam Messer Show with special guest Ryan Dunn, and we're going to talk. We're going to roll up some more EVPs from the AfterlifeTours.net website. If you want to play along with us at home, it's AfterlifeTours.net, and we'll get in there, and then Ryan will kind of give us a breakdown, and then we'll be talking about some more scary stuff after 4:00. All right,
Sounds awesome.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll be right back.